Good evening, YouTube. It
Hi.
is 8:45 and we've not had a chance to film anything since the first review we did this morning. So we've got 3 to do, but you'll be glad to know they're all separate. So this is show 2, which was at 3:20 this afternoon in the Assembly George Square Studios, Studio 1. And it was Janie's choice. And it's Alone, theatre, drama, sci-fi. Do you want to read it? Or?
Yeah, I will. Read it. Right. Do you have faith in our survival? Alone is a multi-award winning sci-fi drama about feminism, climate change and David Bowie. After 3 years touring New Zealand and Australia, this tense thriller has finally reached the UK. And it was an hour and a half long.
Yeah, it says a bit more on here, but pretty much it's the same. A little bit more detail on the actual Fringe website. I mean, it was quite a big. It's been quite a big room, and it was a proper theatre, wasn't it? And it had quite a big set. Yeah. With quite a lot going on, really. But I have to say that we had 2 female leads and a male voice coming over from Control. We believe that's back on Earth. So they're in space. They've been in space for 2 years. I actually didn't really. I thought it was acted well, but I didn't like the script at all.
No, it was. The start, I mean, like Ian said, I was impressed by the set because it looked very, it was sort of on board a spaceship. And there was quite a lot, there were a couple of sort of tables, a work table and food, and the first character who turned out to be the pilot.
She had banks of a spaceship, really.
That's what I, she was singing along to a David Bowie track, or David Bowie, depending on how you pronounce it.
Bowie.
Bowie. Or
Bowie.
Bowie.
It's David Bowie.
And I just thought, this Bowie track is used a lot on anything sci-fi, and we had the whole song. Yeah, we
did actually.
I just thought that was sort of unnecessary.
It's too long. Yeah. Well, actually, the whole thing was an hour and a half, and I mean, I was going to say this later, but I actually felt there was quite a few scenes where, I got the point of that scene, but it was too long. Yeah. So they could have easily chopped probably 20 minutes off it, and we just still got the point. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what I was thinking. Yeah. And then the other character appeared, and she was older and sort of seemed to be. It was difficult to know the relationship until eventually you realised that one was an academic and it was
scientist, doctor.
Her research. So there were references to them trying to find something to do with a plant to put back on Earth, because Earth was basically. It was frying.
It was dying,
because of climate change and heating up. So we got that, what they were doing was important. And so there was a lot of sort of setting the scene.
It was quite, probably a good 45 minutes really of scene setting. But actually, I have to say, in that 45 minutes, and normally in a play like this, that spends so long building the relationships, you would have cared about. I don't know how you feel, but I didn't really care about the relationships.
Well, that's interesting because that's what I wrote. Because I wrote some notes, and I didn't really care about that. I've written no sympathy with the characters. No. Because there was, even though there were reference to climate change, I didn't feel. Having read the blurb again, I think there was a lot of.
There wasn't a lot. I think the only focus on. No, the only line that I remember making me think, oh, okay, so it's the the Earth is dying, was where the scientists, the academics said, you know, the Earth is on fire, and that's why we've been out here pursuing it, and that was the only reference.
So it was a lot about them chatting, and that was fine. There then was a moment where the older woman.
She wasn't old. She was still a young woman, but she was older. She was older than
the other character. She made a reference to how important her faith was to her. Now, this is important in the sense that she made this point. Then, because then they had. Sorry, I know I'm not making sense here, but we had all of this. Then there was. They were hit by, we think, a meteor shower, and a lot of chat goes on between them. But then later on, the older character completely loses it and becomes irrational.
And I don't think that would happen. You see lots of space drama. Let's face it. There's been, you know, and when the reason to pick certain people to go into space, like pilots of aircraft, exactly. When there is a crisis, they don't panic. Yeah. And I know she's an academic, but she will have been trained to go into space, and we've seen lots of films, and people don't panic in space straight away like that. And I completely agree with you. I found that completely unbelievable that she would lose it like that. Yeah. Because that's not what happens. That's these people are trained.
And she also screamed and screamed.
Yeah, she did.
That the other woman, the other girl, hadn't respected her faith in God.
Yeah.
It was all very, and I thought
it was a bit of a mishmash, really. And I think the actors were doing the best they could with the script.
I have written down it was more about the direction that they've been given. I felt. Yeah,
I think you're probably right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've said this. I thought the script maybe wasn't as good as it could have. It certainly wasn't as snappy as it could be. And the problem for us is having seen Glass Ceiling only yesterday, which is another space thing, and it being so good, it is hard not to compare these two, because this is actually a bigger production in a bigger theatre, but Glass Ceiling was definitely the better play.
I mean, I'm just reading this again. It says it's about feminism. Well,
I wasn't any of that.
There wasn't.
I didn't get any of that.
Anything about feminism.
No.
And it calls it a tense thriller, but.
Well, it was tense towards the end, and we don't want to give any spoilers.
No, I know you said that.
Yeah, there's I thought it was tense towards the end, but sadly for me it was a flawed piece. Really,
it was.
Yeah,
well,
it could have been a good 20 minutes shorter. It might have made it a much snappier piece of work.
I think it was well acted.
It was well acted, yeah.
I think for me it was the direction.
Not the script so much.
Yeah, well, a combination of both.
Script and direction, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we talked about the scientists losing it and that not happening or not seeming believable, and that's about direction.
There was this complete difference. Between her character had a complete sort of change, and with no real explanation, which just seemed odd.
How many stars?
3 for me.
It's 3 for me as well, actually. Yeah. I mean, but viewers, as we've said before, you have to make your own minds up on this type of thing. It didn't resonate with us. It clearly resonated with some of the audience. So you'd have to go make your own minds up. It's on right the way through. The only days it's not performing is the 14th and the 21st. The standard ticket price is going to be £13.50. So go make your own minds up about it, really. Yeah. Okay, we will see you very shortly, because we're going to film it next, for... oh, yes. Dom the play about a certain Mr. Cummins.
Yep.
Okay. See you shortly. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.